Namaskar. A warm welcome to World News, an Indian perspective on All India Radio. This is Ramya and with me is R.S. Raghu, bringing glimpses of the major developments of the day from across the globe. Over the next half an hour, we shall bring you the latest from the world of politics, economy, sports, entertainment and more. The headlines: ISRO to launch rocket PSLV C-53 carrying 3 Singapore satellites from Satish Dhawan Space Centre, Sriharikota on Thursday evening. India slams UN human rights for comments on action against Teesta Setalvad and 2 other persons. Calls it completely unwarranted. Busan University of Foreign Studies establishes India Centre for Promotion of India-focused activities in the university. Union Cabinet of India approves computerization of primary agriculture credit societies with overall budget outlay of 2,516 crore rupees. Vice presidential election in India to be held on 6th of August. NATO member Turkey agrees to support Sweden and Finland's membership of the alliance. In Malaysia Open badminton, PV Sindhu and P. Kashyap advanced to pre-quarterfinals in singles category. And in Wimbledon tennis tournament, Novak Jokovic beats Thanasi Kokkinakis in men's singles second round. The Indian Space Research Organisation, ISRO, will launch the rocket PSLV C-53 carrying 3 Singapore satellites at 6 p.m. on Thursday. The workhorse launch vehicle will be ignited from the second launch pad at Satish Dhawan Space Centre, Sriharikota. The 25 hours countdown leading to the launch began at 5 p.m. on Wednesday. The PSLV C-53 is the second dedicated commercial mission of the recently formed New Space India Limited, a public sector unit under the Department of Space. Overall, this is the 55th PSLV mission. The fourth stage 44.4 meter tall rocket has a lift-off mass of 228.43 tons. It would inject the primary payload, the 365 kg Earth observation satellite called DSEO, into an orbit of 570 km height as measured from the equator. Our correspondent reports that the other 2 payloads that will be hurled into space are a 155 kg NeoSAR satellite and the 2.8 kg Scoop-1 nanosatellite of the Nanyang Technological University, Singapore. More from our correspondent.
Tomorrow's PSLV mission has a few novel features. The rocket's last stage, or the spent engine called PS4, will not be abandoned in space after the launch as usual. It is being fitted with 6 payloads, including 2 from the Indian space startups called Digandhara from Bengaluru and Dhruva Space from Hyderabad. After launching the 3 Singapore satellites, the engine of the rocket will be stabilized in space. Therefore, the 6 tiny payloads on it can be operated from the ground station to get important data from space. It is almost like a technology demonstration for the ISRO and also a maiden venture for the 2 space startups to have their own operational devices in space. Jai Singh, AR News, Chennai.
External Affairs Ministry of India has said that the remarks by United Nations Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights regarding legal action against Teesta Setalvad and 2 other persons are completely unwarranted. Ministry spokesperson Arindam Bagchi said it constitutes an interference in India's independent judicial system. He said authorities in India act against violations of law strictly in accordance with established judicial processes. Mr. Bagchi said labeling such legal actions as persecution for activism is misleading and unacceptable.
Busan University of Foreign Studies BUFS has established an India Centre for Promotion of India-focused activities in the university. The centre was inaugurated on Monday. According to a note from the Indian Embassy in Seoul, the centre will act as a nodal point for India-related events in Busan and serve as a ready resource for students interested in India and to expand academic and cultural cooperation with the university. The inaugural ceremony was attended by the President of Busan University of Foreign Studies, India's Ambassador to South Korea, and Ambassador for International Relations, Busan City Government among others. An MOU was also signed between Busan University and Swami Vivekanand Cultural Center, Embassy of India in Seoul to promote cooperation in the field of education and cultural exchange. India and the European Union (EU) on Monday resumed negotiations after a gap of over 8 years for a comprehensive free trade agreement, a move aimed at strengthening economic ties between the two regions. In today's Hotspot section, we bring you a discussion on resumption of India-EU Free Trade Agreement talks. In conversation are former Foreign Secretary Shashank and journalist Sanjay Jha.
India-European Union resumed free trade talks after nearly a decade freeze. Two sides now hoping to overcome sticking points as they aim to reduce China reliance. India and the European Union have now formally relaunched the negotiation toward a free trade agreement, ending a hiatus of nearly a decade, now aiming to strike a deal by the end of 2023. Shashank ji, you have been the leading diplomat of the country. How do you see this negotiation between India and European Union, which is sort of very, very important trading partner for India?
Sanjay, you have given very specifically the reason for it. Both India and the European Union want to reduce their dependence on trade with China. As you know that the trade with China is extremely important for both. And now with the evolving situation where we are finding that China is using the muscle flexing in the region and using all kinds of other initiatives like Belt and Road Initiative and others to make its outreaches towards other countries and other regions. European Union would like very much that we should be able to China in this regard to the extent possible. And this is a welcome opportunity for India, and I think very timely initiative that we have decided to restart and relaunch the trade facilitation talks with European Union. We should be, of course, aware of the background as to the reason why these talks had to be abandoned at a time when European Union wanted very much to increase trade with China, and India was also increasing its policies in the East Asian region with the ASEAN countries, Australia, Japan, etc. So the priorities were different at that time. But now time has come, keeping in mind the geostrategic, geoeconomic situation at present, that we must increase our mutual trade and add to the present large figures already, which are there over $150. They're using very healthy 30-40%. So I think we have every possibility to increase it further.
Commencement of talks on India-EU FTA is happening at a very right time. So FTA with EU is a long overdue. We started talking to this 27-nation bloc almost 15 years back, but the talks was stalled in 2013 as both the countries failed to reach agreement on many key issues, including custom duties on automobile and states, the movement of professionals. That was one of the most, the big challenging area between two sides. Generally, India's European Union views that India's restrictive trade policy and regulatory framework have come up as hurdles related to matters such as foreign direct investment, greenhouse gas emissions, nuclear energy, farming, subsidies, regulations of the financial sector, tariff and non-tariff barriers, and technology transfer. But this time we see that the both sides have come together and they're quite open to discuss every thorny issue. How hopeful are you?
Well, one has to remain optimistic, and especially as we started by saying that the geostrategic and geoeconomic situation right now, EU and India, to trade and economic relationship. Therefore, it's obligating both sides to make another effort at it. And even if we get 10%, 15% additionality, I think that will at least give the advantages to both economies, which is very necessary. I think we have to also know the background that in India, we thought that WTO would be the best platform where we should conduct trade negotiations on a universal basis. And at that time, we had found that there were a lot of restrictions still on and obligations required on the developing countries like India, because we have remained right from our independence food deficit country, very much concerned about the food security for our people. Whereas in WTO, we always found that they were more interested in making sure that there are no food subsidies or no subsidies of any kind given in the developing countries. We had started paying more attention to developing our trade relations with the neighboring countries, whether SAARC or ASEAN and BIMSTEC. And on the East Asia, we wanted to set up the regional trading and economic alliance. I think now the situation is totally different. We realize that we have reached a kind of a plateau on the other side, and we tried the relationship with UAE and Australia, which has proved to be very successful. And I'm sure that if we conduct these negotiations in the right spirit, EU of course has the difficulty that they have to negotiate among themselves also to find out as to what agreements are reached that are acceptable to each EU partner. So that of course creates a problem. But we can keep in mind that the major countries like France and Germany, they have very large within. We can firstly take into account their concerns and see that we bring them on board, and then we try to take into account the issues of importance to other countries in the European Union. So I think this remains an issue where India, one side, we have to make sure that all of states, the progress, they at least 20 times more complex for union with so many countries and so many stakeholders on the side.
Despite optimism, we see a real challenges of, arriving at a free trade agreement between two sides. There are some specific sectors like dairy, textiles, beverage and automobiles where we face problems from both sides. Now, the import duties for the products from are quite relatively high. The reduction of import tariff is considered to affect these sectors to a large extent in the domestic market. On the other hand, the European Union has imposed a ban on almost 700 drugs clinically tested by Indian drug companies. Simultaneously, there are many barriers to the movement of professionals due to cumbersome rules on work permits, visa restrictions, and non-recognition of professional qualification by the European Union. Obviously, India wants this harmonized and easy access to these routes, but there is a significant untapped potential which we can hope to unleash. So, with these sort of 3-4, challenging areas, there is a strong bond between two sides. You think there could be that we will be talking more about product, the trade between two sides. It is in the favor of India. How do you see, moving forward? Like the services could be put it in back burner, and we can just talk about at the moment the product exports.
Well, there is no doubt that the Indian market is an India advantage of its large consumer base in order to negotiate agreements with other countries. And European Union is also looking eagerly to enter this large consumer-based market in India. We have to make sure that because, for example, if you see the RCEP with the East Asian countries, it collapsed on two grounds mainly. One was of the agricultural commodities, because we felt that the agricultural products and the dairy products from Australia, New Zealand, and other, they entered the Indian market and our farmers will suffer very badly. Therefore, that issue will always remain among us because farming lobby is extremely important in India and no government can try to overlook that. The other part is that, yes, the pharmaceutical area is where Indian companies have made the maximum gains in the world markets. And also India has gained a tremendous amount of goodwill by preparing generics for very expensive medicines, and especially for the pandemics and epidemics in Africa, Latin America, and many other regions. And that has been very successful. So India would be very keen to see that if these generics can get market access into European Union also, that would be of great advantage because Europe has very high health standards, so they remain worried whether the Indian medicines would have the required quality or not. If you remember that recently we had this issue that while India is developing against COVID with the British company, but the Indian products, Indian people were not allowed to enter with vaccination into England because it was felt that they were perhaps not of the right quality till we reached the stage where our foreign minister had to impose reciprocal restrictions on the Britishers coming to India. So I think that remains an issue that the European negotiators have to put that mindset that anything produced by India will be of low quality. I think that they have to put it behind them and make sure that what we are looking at is to find that while equitable and equal standards are kept up in both sides, but both sides have to gain from the negotiations which have been launched at the highest level, where the Prime Minister has spoken to the President of the European Union, our Trade Minister has also spoken to the trade head of the European Union. So I think right now it's the process which has restarted after a long hiatus by policy directive from the highest levels in the two partners. So I think we need to move ahead and once again explore very seriously as to how we can take advantage of the possibilities that exist and the potential that exists between our two sides.
Thank you so much for your time, Ambassador Sasank.
Thank you very much. I agree with you totally. Thank you.
India's ambassador to China, Pradeep Kumar Rawat, said that India, since its accession to Shanghai Cooperation Organization, SCO, has actively participated and provided substantial support to various mechanisms across diverse domains in the forum. As for the first time, India is ready to take over the SCO presidency from Uzbekistan in September 2022, Ambassador Rawat said. India will continue to work with other members to develop very meaningful agenda. He said India's initiatives at SCO are of great relevance in the current challenges faced by the mankind, especially in the fields of health security, food security, energy security and climate security. Ambassador Rawat was speaking at the round table organized by the SCO Secretariat on Wednesday to commemorate the 20th anniversary of adoption of SCO Charter and the 15th anniversary of signing of the Treaty of Long-Term Good Neighborliness, Friendship and Cooperation.
We actually need to find more innovative solutions to deal with climate challenge, climate security, the food security which is in the agriculture sector, and also the energy security by bringing more efficient systems which can save energy. So the Indian initiative would be very rapid, and SCO continues to mature. India will remain deeply engaged.
This is All India Radio giving you the news. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on Twitter @AIR News Alerts.
Welcome back to World News. The Union Cabinet of India has approved Computerization of Primary Agriculture Credit Societies (PACs). Briefing media in New Delhi on Wednesday, Information and Broadcasting Minister Anurag Singh Thakur said the Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs (CCEA) has decided that 63,000 functional PACs will be computerized with overall budget outlay of 2,516 crore rupees. He said the move will benefit 13 crore farmers. The CCEA also approved deregulation of sale of domestically produced crude oil. Mr. Thakur said the move will ensure marketing freedom for all exploration and production companies. The Union Cabinet has also approved the categorization of the Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure (CDRI) as an international organization and signing of the Headquarters Agreement HQA with CDRI for granting it the exemptions, immunities and privileges as contemplated under the United Nations Privileges and Immunities Act 1947. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said that Cabinet decision on computerization of primary agriculture credit societies (PACs) will benefit crores of farmers, particularly small and marginal farmers. In a tweet, Mr. Modi said the decision will also enhance transparency and lead to better service delivery.
In India, the vice presidential election will be held on the 6th of August. In a statement, the Election Commission of India, ECI, said notification for the election will be issued on 5th of July and nomination can be filed till 19th of next month. The scrutiny of nominations will be done by 20th of July. The Commission said the Electoral College for the vice presidential election consists of 233 elected members of Rajya Sabha, 12 nominated members of Rajya Sabha and 543 elected members of Lok Sabha. Secretary General of Lok Sabha will be the returning officer for the election. The term of Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu is ending on 10th of August. NATO member Turkey has agreed to support Sweden and Finland's membership of the alliance. It had initially opposed the Nordic countries' bid to join the organization. In a statement, NATO said a trilateral deal had been reached at a meeting between Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, Finland's President Sauli Niinisto and Swedish Prime Minister Magdalena Andersson in the Spanish capital of Madrid. Foreign ministers from the three countries signed a joint security pact that addressed Turkey's concerns. NATO chief Jens Stoltenberg said Sweden agreed to step up its work on Turkish extradition requests of suspected militants. He said the two Nordic nations will also lift their restrictions on selling weapons to Turkey. Sweden and Finland had historically declined to seek NATO membership, partly because of mixed public opinion and caution around their security relationship with Russia. However, that dramatically changed after Russia launched a military operation on Ukraine in February.
Indian Minister for Science and Technology and Earth Sciences Dr. Jitendra Singh held a bilateral meeting with the Minister for Climate and Environment of Norway, Mr. Espen Barth Eid, on the sidelines of the UN Ocean Conference in Lisbon, Portugal, and discussed several issues of mutual interest. Both the leaders expressed satisfaction over the progress made so far in the 5th India-Norway Task Force meet. The two sides also reviewed the dialogue and progress on issues like blue economy, integrated ocean management, marine pollution, green shipping and ocean-based renewable energy. The National Investigation Agency of India has now taken over the investigation of Tuesday's murder case in Udaipur of Rajasthan. NIA team has reached Udaipur and Rajasthan Police is helping the NIA. Addressing a press conference in Jaipur, Director General of Police ML Lathas has said that one arrested accused has links with the Pakistani extremist group Dawat-e-Islami. He said that the accused had visited Karachi in 2014. Considering this case as an act of terror, all aspects are being investigated by the police. Police has also detained 3 other people in connection with this case. In a tweet, the Union Home Ministry said the involvement of any organization and international links will be thoroughly investigated.
Muslim organizations in India have strongly condemned the incident of brutal murder in Udaipur, Rajasthan. General Secretary of the Jamiat Ulema-e-Hind, Maulana Hakimuddin Kasmi said whoever has perpetrated this incident cannot be justified in any way. It is against the law of the land and Islamic religion. He said in our country there is a system of law. No one has the right to take the law into their own hands. Shahi Imam of Delhi's Jama Masjid, Syed Ahmad Bukhari, has said the brutal incident of murder has shaken the humanity. He said it is not only an act of cowardice but also un-Islamic, illegal and inhuman. Maharashtra Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray has tendered his resignation after the Supreme Court refused to give a stay on the floor test that was to take place on Thursday. With the resignation of the Chief Minister, the Mahavikas Aghadi, which was lacking the numbers in the Legislative Assembly, has eventually collapsed. Addressing the people of the state through Facebook Live, Mr. Thackeray said he also resigns from Legislative Council, of which he is the member. The first batch of Sri Amarnath pilgrims was flagged off for Kashmir Valley by Jammu and Kashmir Lieutenant Governor Manoj Sinha at Bhagwati Nagar Base Camp in Jammu on Wednesday morning amid tight security arrangements. This year's 43-day-long annual pilgrimage to Sri Amarnath Cave Shrine in Kashmir Valley is commencing on Thursday from Pahalgam and Bartal tracks in Kashmir Valley. Talking to AIR News, Nitishwar Kumar, CEO of Sri Amarnath Shrine Board, said the board has made radio frequency identification tags which help locate a person, compulsory for all the devotees taking the Amarnath pilgrimage this year. The RFID tags would help the authorities to track a pilgrim and know about his whereabouts in case they get lost during the journey.
सुरक्षा के दृष्टिकोण से और यात्रियों के सहूलियत के दृष्टिकोण से हमने इस बार एक RFID टैग शुरू किया है। RFID टैग देने से एक तो यात्री को हम ट्रैक कर पाएंगे और इसके अलावा किस सेगमेंट में कितने लोग हैं, रुकने की व्यवस्था में कितने लोगों को ले जाना है, कितने लोग किस स्ट्रेच को पार किए, कौन लोग उससे पहले हैं, कौन लोग उसके बाद हैं, ये कई सारी सुविधाएं हमें मिलेंगी। दूसरी जो RFID टैग है वो जो पिट्ठू वाले हैं उनको भी दे रहे हैं। यात्रियों का जो इंश्योरेंस है वो भी हमने बढ़ा के 3 लाख से 5 लाख रुपए किया है और पहले जो घोड़ा था वो इंश्योरेंस सिर्फ 3 महीने के लिए होता था। इस बार हमने पूरे साल के लिए किया है। एक्सीडेंटल हो या नेचुरल डेथ हो तो दोनों परिस्थितियों में हम उन्हें 50,000 रुपया इंश्योरेंस देंगे।
India observes June 29th as National Statistics Day every year. The day is observed to honor late Professor Prasanta Chandra Mahalanobis's work in the field of statistics and his contribution as a member of India's first Planning Commission. Statistics and Program Implementation Ministry celebrated the 16th Statistics Day in New Delhi. A report.
The main objective of celebrating Statistics Day is creation of public awareness, especially among the younger generation, on the role and importance of statistics in socio-economic planning and policy formulation for development of the country. The event with theme of Data for Sustainable Development is being celebrated to mark the birth anniversary of late Professor Mahalanobis in recognition of his valuable contribution in the field of economic planning and statistics. Statistics and Program Implementation Minister Rao Inderjeet Singh in his virtual address highlighted India's emerging capacities in data science. He said India is increasingly recognized globally for its prowess in scientific capabilities, and under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, India is among the front runners of the scientific research and emerging disciplines.
I am happy to share that India has been elected the Governing Council of the United Nations Statistical Institute for Asia and the Pacific. On this occasion of Statistics Day, I wish to appreciate and express our sincere gratitude to all individuals and organizations who have partnered with MOSPI over the years. We intend to deepen and strengthen this association in the larger interest of public.
Data science is an essential part of statistics, which in turn helps in policy and decision making effectively for sustainable development. During the celebration of Statistics Day, various professionals were presented the Professor P.C. Mahalanobis National Awards and Professor P.V. Sukhatme National Awards 2022 for their outstanding and meritorious contribution in the field of statistics. Anita Anand, World News, All India Radio.
In badminton, Olympic medalist PV Sindhu advanced to the pre-quarterfinals of Malaysia Open in Kuala Lumpur on Wednesday. She beat Thailand's Pornpavi Chochuwong 21-13, 21-17 to enter the second round. Parupalli Kashyap also progressed to the second round in the men's singles. He won his opening round match against South Korea's Hyo Kwang-hee 21-12, 21-17.
In Wimbledon tennis, Novak Jokovic of Serbia registered a straight set win over Australian Thanasi Kokkinakis in the second round of men's singles. In a one-sided match, Jokovic beat Kokkinakis by 6-1, 6-4, 6-2. Now let us take a look at the major developments around the world as reported in the foreign press. First, we take a look at the press reports on China. It was widely reported in Chinese as well as Western media that China shortens collective quarantine time of close contacts and international arrivals from 14 days to 7 days. Global Times reported that 8 Chinese cities have shortened centralized quarantine time for international arrivals.
Now let's have a look at the press reports on Nepal. The Rising Nepal reports that Prime Minister Sher Bahadur Deuba has expressed his firm commitment to enhance standards of higher education in the country. The Rising Nepal reports that Kathmandu metropolitan city has banned the sale of food in the street from Tuesday.
Now let's take a look at the press reports from Balochistan. The Express Tribune report says that the Balochistan High Court on Monday suspended the Election Commission of Pakistan's notification for holding local government elections for the Metropolitan Corporation and District Council in Quetta. And now let us take a look at the headlines once again. ISRO to launch rocket PSLV-C-53 carrying 3 Singapore satellites from Satish Dhawan Space Centre, Sriharikota on Thursday evening. India slams UN human rights for comments on action against Teesta Setalvad and 2 other persons, calls it completely unwarranted. Busan University of Foreign Studies establishes India Centre for Promotion of India-focused activities in the university. Union Cabinet of India approves computerization of primary agriculture credit societies with overall budget outlay of 2,516 crore rupees. Vice presidential elections in India to be held on 6th of August. NATO member Turkey agrees to support Sweden and Finland's membership of the alliance. In Malaysia Open badminton, PV Sindhu and P. Kashyap advanced to pre-quarterfinals in singles category, and in Wimbledon tennis tournament, Novak Djokovic beats Thanasi Kokkinakis in men's singles second round. And now, before we end, let us listen to Mahatma Gandhi's favorite bhajan, Vaishnav Jan, by artists from Jordan. we end this bulletin. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow with the next edition of World News.